When the last missiles fall silent, when the sirens finally stop echoing through the night, when the skies fade from burning orange to a dull, heavy gray, the world does not end in one final blast. It simply changes quietly and permanently. The ideas that once defined humanity, nations, borders, alliances, identity, do not disappear. They dissolve, reform, bend, and break into shapes the old world would not recognize. The first morning after a global war would feel unreal. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just strangely quiet, a silence so deep it feels wrong. A stillness that does not belong to peace, but to shock. Buildings would still be standing. Streets would still be where they always were. People would still wake up in their beds. But nothing, not a single system, would work the way it did before. Governments would fall mute. Phones would fail the invisible threads that held civilization together. Electric grids, water pumping stations, food distribution networks would snap one by one. Civilization is rarely destroyed by explosions. It collapses from the absence of everything we assumed was permanent. Even the nations untouched by the initial blasts would feel the shockwave of collapse. Trade would evaporate. Fuel would become a memory. Money would lose meaning. Countries that once argued over budgets and elections would suddenly be negotiating for survival itself. Large nations would fracture first. The United States, Russia, China, India, any country spread across vast land, would struggle to remain one piece. Local governments would rise where national ones fall. Borders inside borders would reappear like cracks in drying earth. Some countries, however, Japan, Switzerland, Finland, Singapore, small, disciplined, used to emergency planning, might stabilize faster. But even they would face shortages that no preparation could fully solve. Far distant nations, forgotten on peaceful days, suddenly become priceless. Brazil, New Zealand, Argentina, parts of Africa, remote islands. Not because of armies, because of land, water, and distance, the new currency of survival. This is the world in the quiet after WW3 begins. Not ash everywhere, not total ruins, just a planet forced to answer one brutal question. What am I without the systems that once sustained me? The new map, the world map after a global war, would not be redrawn by treaties. It would be redrawn by necessity. Power no longer comes from armies or borders, but from access to three things: water, food, stable land. Large nations hit hardest would crack internally first. The United States wouldn't vanish, but the federal voice would fade. State governments would rise. Some would cooperate. Some would go silent. Coastal megacities, dependent on fuel and constant delivery, would struggle, while interior regions rich with farmland and freshwater become new centers of influence. Russia would not fall to invasion, but to distance. Siberia, the Far East, remote oblasts, all of them too far to control without fuel, communication, or order. New leaders would rise, not from ideology, but from practicality. A nation the size of a continent cannot survive in silence. China would face a different test. Its power depends on movement: ships, fuel, rail trade. When movement stops, its population turns from strength to burden. Coastal megacities may empty. Rural provinces might stabilize on their own. The question becomes simple: can the state feed millions faster than panic spreads? Unexpected centers of stability would emerge. Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, New Zealand, quiet agricultural giants, suddenly become pillars in a world where food is more powerful than armies. Europe would not break apart, but it would shrink inward. Countries would cluster into regional survival groups. Borders soften, not through diplomacy, but through shared scarcity. The European Union might fade, but cooperation would remain, born not of politics, but of hunger. The map after global war is not drawn in ink. It is drawn in the paths of migration, where people flee, where they settle, where life remains possible. Governments don't vanish after catastrophe. They mutate. Centralized power collapses first. Systems dependent on instant communication crumble. Leaders who ruled through authority alone lose that authority overnight. Not from weakness, but from silence. Local control fills the vacuum. Mayors, governors, military commanders, community organizers. Anyone with food, water, and a plan becomes government by default. Ideologies. Logistics take over. People follow whoever keeps the water flowing. International alliances, UN, NATO, global organizations fade. Not from failure, but from irrelevance. Nations no longer have the capacity to participate. Cooperation shrinks to geography. In a new world, resource rule emerges. Power comes from controlling farmland, rivers, medicine, transportation hubs, energy sources. Authority becomes local, functional, and real. The social contract simplifies into one truth. We survive together, or we do not survive at all. The world economy, once a web of ships, planes, instant markets, and global trade, doesn't explode. It simply stops. Money loses meaning. Currency requires trust in systems, and the systems are gone. Wealth returns to the physical. Food, fuel, medicine, batteries, tools, warm clothing, clean water. These become the new currency. Daily life becomes older, heavier. Lights no longer turn on. Refrigerators become silent shells. Phones become flashlights. Every action requires effort. Cooking with fire, heating with wood, traveling by foot. The world becomes big again, measured not by miles, but by how far a person can walk. Communities reform around necessity. People who once avoided eye contact in elevators now share tools, meals, and night watches. Cooperation becomes survival. In cities, scarcity arrives in days. Without fuel or trucks, shelves empty instantly. Crowds move. Some flee. Others adapt. In rural areas, life slows but stabilizes. Farms become fortresses of value. Towns become barter hubs. Skills we treated as hobbies, gardening, repairs, first aid, become essential. Education returns to its oldest form. Children learn by doing. Survival becomes the curriculum. And yet, even in hardship, life does not become only suffering. People gather, sing, tell stories. Shared hardship creates unity prosperity never could. After the economic collapse, what remains is not wealth. It is connection, the world that eventually emerges. The world rising from the ruins is not a return to the past. It is something new, built from memory, necessity, and scars. Countries survive, but smaller. Borders return, but along rivers, mountains, fertile valleys, not political ambition. Empires fade. Distance becomes too expensive to rule. Technology does not vanish. It sleeps. Machines gather dust. Servers sit in silence. Solar panels wait for hands that remember how to repair them. Slowly, pieces of the old world awaken. Not in grand skyscrapers, but in careful steps. Restoration, not expansion. Culture deepens. Communities protect languages, stories, craftsmanship. Art becomes simpler, more meaningful. History is no longer words in books. It is etched into the landscape. A new generation grows up who never saw the old world. They do not miss it. They build their own. Trade returns slowly. Sailboats before cargo ships. Local markets before global ones. A new international order emerges. Cautious, decentralized, built not on dominance but necessity. Humanity learns, imperfectly, that endurance comes not from strength but from stability and restraint. The memory of what was lost becomes a warning carved into the bones of the world. The world after global war is not empty. It is not doomed. It is simply changed forever. Smaller, yes, but also more human, more deliberate, more aware of its limits. A world that moves forward, not because of confidence, but because life always finds a way to begin again.